Hello, this is Cryptolyze. I hope you are well. This Monday, September 9th, 2023, it's back to school, yes, and we're meeting to talk about AVAX, the crypto of the Avalanche. As usual, we will dissect it into two parts. Fundamental part, we will come back to what the Avalanche is, to its current events, and a technical part which we will project on course, medium, long-term, purchase prices, sale prices, and that starts right away. What is Avalanche? It's a level 1 blockchain, so it's an infrastructure blockchain, what we call layer 1. The aim is to provide developers with bricks and functional blocks so that they can build decentralized applications. Overall, they provide infrastructure for applications to be deployed in a decentralized manner across the blockchain. This is really the very principle of Avalanche. It is the principle of all level 1 blockchains. Overall, the business model has revolved around transaction fees. The more decentralized applications there are, the more use of its network, the more the foundation behind it receives fees. And so it's the business model that is always around the levels. So aside, they define themselves as a level 1, yes, but not completely, given that they also define themselves a little bit as a level 0, like a layer 0, a bit like Polkadot, because it compares to Polkadot on old screens. Old screens, it's very important because these are screens. From the moment I started launching this channel almost 2 years ago, and they compared themselves directly to Polkadot, therefore Bitcoin, classic Ethereum at that time. We were in the Ethereum killer theme, and then at Polkadot, which was therefore layer 0, which aims to make available, in fact, a development kit to build blockchains around of their infrastructure. And Avalanche had a little bit of this idea, even if this image has disappeared, because we moved on to an image revolved around the multiverse to arrive at a recent image, which is to create without limit, in which they make available all information to develop a blockchain, to develop a decentralized application. They even go relatively far from that, saying that choosing the wrong blockchain will lead to the death of your decentralized application, and that by choosing basically Avalanche, the choice is the safest. So besides, what do we have in Avalanche? Avalanche is therefore a blockchain which has a slightly different consensus from the others, which even works very, very well, and which has a particularity, which is that it is not based on Tendermint, which is the standard that we found in many EVM blockchains. And precisely speaking of EVM, their virtual machine, which allows smart contracts to be executed, therefore intelligent contracts which allow decentralized applications to be able to execute code in a decentralized way, is EVM compatible, but not only. It is built on WebAssembly mainly, and in which we have the possibility of using many other programming languages to be able to build it. Alongside, they launched subnets being mini Avalanche networks, which are private or public, which are connected to public networks. This concept is very interesting because we find ourselves in precisely the empirical implementation of several blockchains which are interfaced. We remember the notion of layer 0, even if they don't communicate on it, we clearly see that they are building on it. And subnets are widely used, particularly by institutions, to be able to build their own blockchain and use blockchain technology without having to go through a public blockchain, something which is very important. Besides, we have classic partnerships with AWS to build Avalanche nodes, so we're really going to put that aside, but we have a concentration of Avalanche communication on gaming, okay? Clearly, we have Avalanche, which is trying to cannibalize part of gaming around NFTs and the structuring of NFTs, and it is a communication that we see which is still present, but which has started to fade over the last 1 or 2 years. Month to leave room for other communications, and you will see what. On one, the tech part in which we have cross-subnet messaging, therefore very important, which allows subnets to be interfaced without going through the public blockchain, therefore which allows for interfacing between the different subnets without having any visibility of what is being transmitted. What they call warp in particular is the possibility of being able to create an ecosystem without having to be dependent on the public network. It is very important. Besides, they launched their $50 million fund for tokenization. So that's where I told you that they are in the process of shifting, in which we have subnets which are in the process of being interfaced between them, and alongside, we are moving towards institutional tokenization. Tokenization subnets interfaced with each other. We are starting to create an ecosystem specific to effective tokenization. So something that is rather classic. In terms of the token, we therefore had a release on August 26, which was for $94 million. So with the big dilution, I think, We will see it at the price level later, and then we therefore have a token which is 50% diluted with a market cap which is already relatively high. Diluted market cap, of course, which is 7 billion, which is still significant in terms of dilution, well after the advantage is that at Avalanche we have a lot of news, we have a lot of applications which are present, we still have the effective volume which is being put in place. So for me, we are in something that is rather on the road, and I think that we will have communications which will arrive shortly, which will allow us to have an overall vision on this that they are trying to build, and I think it will be around mainly subnets and communication methodology. And we will return to this idea which has disappeared precisely from their marketing concept, but which is gradually returning to small of layer 0, but which will not be called layer 0, of course, which will be precisely a set. I think of interconnected subnets a bit like what we can find precisely in Cosmos and the Cosmos universe. We attack the technical part which is structured in a rather classic way, which we have been able to see, in which we have a classic accumulation which we have here. Acceleration, that is to say, first time, restructuring with wave 2, and then we have the accelerations with wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, which took place for an ATH, which ended on November 15, in a total of $147 of AVAX. And what is interesting to see is that we clearly saw this process of first acceleration with here the saturation of everything that is Ethereum and the events of compatible EVMs. And then we had the retracement and the big acceleration, which is carried out in 2 stages with a delay in September. And we had a performance which was rather impressive at the level of AVAX. So then we had this retracing in 3 stages, A, B, and C. It's real, and therefore we find ourselves in the spot zone, therefore, in this long-term investment zone when we have an interest, which is the neutrality zone, in which we are in the sign of weakness, in overall the long-term accumulation zone, in which we had a lot which was carried out by Celsius, which was then broken here by FTX. And since we are in FTX, we are more or less in a ranging zone or even in a sagging zone. So we see that we have a lot of trouble. To restart the rise, we left again. We went to retest or even make a break-off structure in January 2023 at the level of FTX, which was rather bullish. And then we had here a bearish breakout while we had a BTC, which was performing. To give you visibility on BTC, we see that we have a BTC which then continued to make highs, which is not the case. BTC was doing that. While Avalanche and other cryptos elsewhere, there is no, that Avalanche, we're being crushed here by the downward pressure. And that's a bit of what we are seeing. People are capitulating. The breaking of this low point precisely leads to an additional capitulation. And here we are retesting what? We are in the process of retesting this batch before the big acceleration, which is rather consistent and rather classic. Then we have another level, which is here, the accumulation before really the bullish break that we have in mind. And for me, it is these 2 levels that we will have to remember. For what? Because we are currently clearly in a phase which is not positive. We must have a break of structure for a validation. Here, what is really striking is that we are making lower and lower batches agreement. So we are in a bearish dynamic, unfortunately, even if we are in a phase of lethargy and rather at the bottom of a rather macro range, okay? We take a little step back here, you will see that we are really in an effective range shape, but we are at the bottom of the range. And I think that we will even go hunting lower with potentially a stalling of all alties. Video that I presented to you this Sunday, which I will put at the end of this video if you're interested in following, understand why this is going to happen and why I have this golden zone, which is generally for me a very long-term reloading zone on AVAX to get AVAX in the region of $6 to $4 with a drop in the 50% potential of AVAX. Already for me, the first target to aim for here would be the liquidity gain of this lot. There for me, we will get there in a few days, a few weeks. It will be quite quickly. And in any case, we even see the stall here in anticipation of the release. And I think that we will have a further dilution of the token, which will take place. Concerning long-term targets, therefore long-term, that is next bull run, use of the blockchain by numerous decentralized applications, we could precisely be in a wave 1, wave 2 Eliottis, therefore prepare an impulsive wave 3, which will be relatively strong. We will just replace, in which we will look for the target of 1.618 for wave 3, hop here 1.618, $240 for AVAX. So a big performance in mind, obviously provided that we have decentralized applications which are built on AVAX, on Avalanche, that we have usage, that we have users, and that we are in an end of bull run. Of course, for me, the first target to set will be here, this box, which is around $100, in which many people have blocked a PMA, an average purchase price, which is in these surroundings, okay? There is a part which is capitulated, but there is a part which holds in this part. So we know that we will have either a reduction here precisely in the portfolio and at the same time a profit taking by in relation to this resistance. Very clearly, we will go to fill the imbalance. We will potentially make a small reduction in the 60 minus $57 before leaving to get that. And then here have something which will be structured like that. This is a little bit the idea that I have regarding Avalanche. We will once again have to take time. This is something that will take time. I think we are in a zone of lethargy and we will have to wait to have a bullish structure. Once again, here we are in a long-term investment zone. If we are interested in making, moreover, we are going to update our spot zone to make DCA in the long term, of course. But if we are rather investor, we will wait to have a structure, that is to say something which will break the previous top, restructure with a lot which is higher than the previous one, and then break once again the new top. So here we have a setup which tells us, okay, we are in a form of trend reversal. And at that moment, we have an interest in saying to ourselves, okay, I can strengthen my DCA. I can return strongly in position by saying that I will accompany the price precisely on a following structure and so on. But here we don't have these patterns and we don't have them on many altcoins. So which leads me to say that we would rather go into a downward trend at the level of altcoins in reloading zones, deep, long-term, and which are precisely an opportunity. I hope you liked this video. If so, don't hesitate to leave me a like and a comment. It always makes me very happy, and above all, it supports the work that I do every day. And if you want to know more about altcoin retracement, the video is here, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m.